Josh Carroll, and I'm an aspiring church planner. And I was wondering, as we look at the peace plan and we're trying to figure out how we're going to coordinate and build our churches, especially when we're starting brand new, how do we instill the peace plan in our DNA from the very beginning? And what does that look like? We've heard a lot of existing churches, and I saw you at Exponential just a little bit ago, and it was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But I was wondering, as a church planner, how do we instill that in our DNA from the very beginning?
Well, the number one way to install DNA in the church is through the pulpit. You preach your way into every vision, and you preach your way out of every problem. It's like the rudder on the ship. Nowhere else do you get an hour of undivided attention of everybody in an organization once a week. Nobody has that. No politician has it with his constituency. You know, it's an amazing opportunity to convince. So you preach vision, you teach vision, is the first thing. The second thing you do is you look for models. And you find some examples, and you bring them in, or you go visit them. And you tell your staff, as a church planner, take your church staff, and take your church leaders, take your volunteers in a new church to visit other churches that are growing. And really, one of the reasons why I'm excited about this network is it's going to provide better models than Saddleback. What do I mean by that? Saddleback is so big. We're a terrible model for most churches. You can't make a jump from 100 people to 20,000+ people. And it's just too big of a jump. So what we need is we need purpose-driven churches of 150 that model for 75. And purpose-driven churches of 300 that model for 150. And purpose-driven of 500 that model for, see what I'm saying? I once brought in a group of pastors who were in the 5,000 level range. And I told them, and they didn't know how to get to the next step. And I said, I will take you to 10,000 if you'll turn around with somebody else and mentor somebody who's at 1,000 and teach them how to get there. And I said, I'll take you the next step if you'll go ahead and do that to somebody else. So look for models. Many of the churches that have been planted here in the Southern California in the last 20 years while Saddleback was growing would come over on Saturday night. And they would bring their key lay leaders to Saddleback on Sunday night, and that was their church. And then they go back and they're serving as they plant a church on Sunday morning. So you might want to do that in your area. Find some churches that say, hey, we could go over there and get some ideas and then come back.
I guess that's an example of pray it forward. Is that
pray it forward, there you go.
Well, thank you, Pastor Warren. I'm sorry we have to cut this off. Again, thank you to all of you for coming, and for you on the internet joining us. We'll see you next year in May for the next Purpose-Driven Summit. Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.